Hello, and welcome back to the Spoiler Cast, the show where we talk about movies, new and old, but we don't care about spoiling them, especially when they're old. My name is Tobias, and with me as always is my sister and trusty co-host Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello, and I just want to say before we start this conversation on movies, I want to say a big thank you to everyone listening. It's fun to see more and more people show up to listen to our conversations. And if you're one of those people who's not listening past the 30-second mark, bye for now. And if you're here, one of those people who actually listen past the 30-second mark, we're going to start the show now, so I'm glad you're still here. Also, if you love the show enough to listen all the way, or at least like halfway, and you want to hear even more stuff, check us out on patreon.com/don'tmakeascene, where we do an exclusive episode every week, exclusive to the Patreon for this show. You also get early access to my other show once that starts up again, Madness in the Method, where we talk about Nicolas Cage. There's commentary tracks, exclusive videos, early access to sometimes these episodes. Bunch of stuff for just $3 a month. So check it out. Patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. But with all that out of the way, you've seen the title. We're talking about William Friedkin's 1977 suspense thriller classic, I would say, Sorcerer. Because, yay, oh right, that's the intro.
Yay!
Yeah, wait,
Well,
yay!
well, I don't know if it was. I hesitated. I don't know if it's appropriate to cheer this time.
Exactly, that's kind of why I was doing a little more low-key intro, but it's fine. Because last week, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, late last week, William Friedkin passed away, unfortunately. I mean, it wasn't too unexpected, he was pretty old, but it still sucked.
Yeah.
It was actually, when we talk about actors, directors, artists in general passing away, it's sad, because you like some of the movies, but it doesn't really affect you personally. It's just sad that, someone you appreciate has passed away. But when I read that I was at work, and I had like 10 minutes where I didn't have anything to do, as I was just scrolling Twitter, and I started seeing William Friedkin pop up, and I was like, oh, what? No. Oh, no. And then I just Googled it. William Friedkin was dead. And I was genuinely, sad, bummed out. There was a moment, and I was like, oh. And the rest of that day was just ruined for me. And I don't know. Yeah,
we mentioned
that I have
in the Patreon episode, I think, last week.
Yes.
Where it's like, when certain celebrities that have been around all your life, even though you don't know them, you're just used to them being there.
Yeah. You're used to
all of
hearing
a sudden
them.
They're not? And you're like, what the hell? That's not how the universe works.
They've always been there. Yeah. And
we all had that scare when Tom Hanks got COVID.
Yeah, that was similar one. I was like, wait, Tom Hanks can't die?
He can't get sick. He's immortal.
What are you talking about? He's Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was similar with this. It was like, but he can't die? What do you mean?
He's always been there. He's always gonna be there.
Who's gonna make weirdo documentaries about exorcists and, call out Nicholas Winding Refn on his bullshit in interviews? Who's gonna make some of the best movies of all time? I mean, there's other people, but it actually really affected me.
Yes.
I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, I barely knew the name, but I have seen a couple of movies.
Yeah, we've talked about him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as affected, obviously, because it's not a director that I have. I don't think I remembered that he was the director for the two movies we have talked about, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
And scrolling through his IMDb, I don't think I've seen much else.
No, and I haven't seen all of his stuff. I've seen the big ones. And I actually hadn't seen Sorcerer until now. I watched it today, and it was the first time I actually saw it.
Yeah, I watched it today as well.
Yeah. But I've seen enough of his movies, and it's really, really more than his movies. Well, except for The Exorcist, of course. More than his movies, it's his interviews where he's so He's so open and straightforward. He was so open and straightforward about his thoughts on movies and just stuff in general. To the point where like he's trying to like not promote The Exorcist, but like talk about The Exorcist with the with the author of the book, William Peter Blatty, and he starts like, no, I disagree with your ideas on the book here because when I read it, I felt that, no, you're saying this to the guy who wrote the book. He's like, but this is who he was. Like I said, there's an amazing interview between him and Nicholas Winding Refn, the guy who made the Pusher movies and Drive, of course,
Yes.
where they talk about his, at that point, latest movie, Only God Forgives, which is a notorious, like, hated or loved movie because it is painfully pretentious.
Oh, God.
And William Friedkin, who's kind of a pretentious guy, but also very, straightforward in his movies. You can consider him a pretentious person, but his movies are usually pretty straightforward. He was just like, trying to like, Nicholas, like, what was you thinking when you made this movie? It's basically like, it's a piece of trash, basically. And Revan is like, no, I really enjoyed making the movie. I feel it's a highly introspective piece. And it's like, no, just stop
no, it's
it.
not.
Shut up. You made a piece of crap, but you had to sell it to at least make some money back. Shut up, basically, in front of an audience. No, it's not in front of an audience. He mentioned it in front of an audience, but the one is just a taped interview. But it's great.
But it's on tape. I mean,
yes, and he's like
public
calling him out on
view
his bullshit. Yeah, and I love Nicholas Winding Refn as well. He's made some of my favorite movies, but that one is a tough sell, and I'm glad that Friedkin called him out on it. But stuff like that made him an interesting person. Yeah. So, since we've already talked about his two other biggest movies, The Exorcist and The French Connection, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about his like third big one, which is Sorcerer. He's obviously made other famous movies, not to mention Cruisin', of course. But then he was involved with, no, that's a TV show, because he was involved with the Twilight Zone movie, but it was just a TV show. But then other movies that I like, but maybe aren't as popular, are some of his latest movies, Bug and Killer Joe. But they're not as well known. So I thought we would go for Sorcerer, and also because I wanted to watch it, because I've never actually watched it. I've had it on my radar for like 10 years, but never watched it.
We do use these episodes as reasons to watch movies we just want to watch sometimes. Just haven't found the time, or haven't found, like, will, I suppose, sometimes.
Yeah.
The will to watch it. And I was like, no, I have to, because we're going to record, so.
Oh, yeah. And in this case, it was because I wanted to watch the original movie first, The Wages of Fear, the, like, 1954 French
like
movie.
that, yeah.
And this movie, like I said, I heard about Sorcerer many, 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 many years ago. And then I found out, oh, it's a sort of a remake of this French movie. I'll watch the original first, and I've tried several times to watch a movie, and I always, like, not because it's bad, it's just I lose interest. I don't want to say it's bad, because it's not, but I lose interest like halfway through. So I've never finished that movie.
In French as well, which doesn't help.
It doesn't help, yeah. So I've never been able to finish it, so therefore I never watched Sorcerer. But today it was like, well, I don't have time to watch both of them, so I'll just watch Sorcerer since we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
And I'm glad I did. Sorry this took so long.
So yeah, what did you think of it?
Oh, I thought it was great. Just getting it out in front. First and foremost, it's not his best movie.
No.
Out of the big three, this is the probably worst one.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But I still think it's a great movie. If anything, it is the most like nerve-wracking, nail-biting movie of the big three. Really, of all movies that I've seen, at least, that he's made. It is. There are moments in this that are so tense, I literally froze.
See,
I don't know,
I've seen a lot
of
reviews saying that, and I was like, there was once or twice when I did, like, super focused, had to double check, like, did I miss something? What the hell is happening? Other than that, I thought it was kind of slow.
Okay.
And it was bridge scenes where the cars are almost falling in the water or falling down the cliff. Obviously, those scenes are very well made.
Yes, and and honestly, I think much of the like build up around the movie is that bridge scene.
Yes. I mean, it's
on the poster. Yeah. It is so fucking intense, especially when the second car drives over, the titular sorcerer car drives over.
Yes.
And the guy falls through and he's almost run over. And then the tree comes from the flood and hits them. It's like, oh my god.
I thought they were impaled for a second.
Yeah, and they start pulling it with the winch, but that's pulling on the bridge and it's breaking just as they, like, it's stuff we've seen before, but you know, in newer movies, but before we saw this. So, but seeing it here, it's just like, they manage to get over exactly when the bridge breaks.
What adds to it is that I'm assuming in the 70s you didn't have, you know, all the safety precautions and like super rigs doing that stuff. So yeah, I'm guessing there was an element of fear like for the actors.
That's funny you brought that up, because I was thinking I read up on that before. That's kind of funny. That's actually a bridge they built specifically for the movie.
Oh, thank God! But still,
yeah, it's like super reinforced. There's full of steel wiring and cables everywhere. Like, it was designed to look rickety. It was just a great set build. But even so, it just felt so much more real.
Yes, because they can't fake anything with CGI, really.
Yeah, it felt like one of the, like, that's why it was so intense, because it really felt that they were on that bridge for real. Yes. In that goddamn torrential rain, and the raging rapids below them, and then when I don't even remember which, it's the first car when it kind of goes off onto the side and the whole bridge almost like topples over.
Yes.
And the long zooms, how the guy is just sitting on the bridge trying to, like, move over here. Just how they set up the cinematography, the directing, the fact that there's no music in the scenes.
Oh yeah, that's
makes
true.
it even more tense. Than if they would have, like, dun 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 music.
Yeah.
That scene, I mean, a new favorite, like, in general. Not just favorite in the movie, favorite of William Friedkin. One of my favorite scenes of all time. God damn.
I assumed, I didn't read up on trivia before this, so I assumed it was more rickety, because I did happen to read, like, a spoiler comment or review somewhere, I think it was on Letterboxd, that apparently conditions weren't the best.
No, I'm sure they weren't. I mean, Friedkin wasn't known to be, like, the most considerate of directors.
No, exactly. And the first trivia on IMDb is that, like, besides internal on-set conflicts, Friedkin has said that approximately 50 people had to leave the film for either injury or gangrene, as well as food poisoning and malaria. Yeah,
he himself got sick with malaria during the shoot, so...
Yeah, almost half the crew went into hospital or had to be sent home.
Yeah, because they actually went into the jungles of South America to shoot the movie. There are no sets in the movie at all.
Exactly.
They just went right into the jungle and filmed it. Which is why I heard some people comparing it. That's the word. Comparing it to Aguirre, The Wrath of God. I don't know if you've seen that, the Klaus Kinski movie. Where it's also just it's supposed to be like a bunch of conquistadors that are stuck on a raft going down, like, the Amazon River or something, and being attacked, and, you know, they're starving and they're sunstroked. Amazing movie. Very, very similar in like, tone and style to this. Very, like, documentary feeling. As I can see the or the comparisons being made. In general, but I guess that's more because of the setting, because when you're thinking of Friedkin movies, you're thinking more of, like, city movies. Even a movie like The Exorcist, which mainly takes place in a house, feels more
Still,
like
it's
it's
a
an urban
townhouse.
movie.
Yeah.
The city is almost a character even in that movie.
There's definite influences of them being in a city. You have more connections. There's more people around. There's more things happening, I suppose, around them instead of just like in this case where it's literally 4 people in the woods eventually.
Yeah,
or in the jungle.
Exactly. And then of course, the French Connection is very much a New York City movie.
Yes.
Cruising is the same way. You haven't seen that one, but it's basically the same. It's about a New York City cop he's going undercover in the burgeoning gay leather bar scene. It's actually a pretty good movie. So his movies have always, at least for me, felt very, very urban. I don't know if that's, I don't mean urban as in whatever, the racial connotation. I just mean that takes place in cities.
Yes.
Yes. But this is like basically all in a jungle. Or at least the second half is all in a jungle.
Yes.
Felt very different, and not just to reference Aguirre, but to reference what's his name? Werner Herzog in general, who made Aguirre and who made Fitzcarraldo, which is another movie about a crazy guy who wants to build an opera house in the Amazon. So he takes a steamboat down the Amazon River. The steamboat is the opera house. And then he wants to pull it. He has to get to the place where he bought the land to place the opera house. They have to pull the steamboat, which is a giant steamboat, over a mountain. And to do this in the movie, they pull the steamboat over a mountain. And he's done a bunch of documentaries. Have you heard? You've heard the name at least, I suppose.
Yes, I've heard the name.
Have you seen any of his movies?
Doubt it.
Okay, well, he has this thing both in his dramas and his documentaries. He's always looking to capture what he calls like adequate images, which is like more important to him than like story and stuff like that. He wants to capture like images that are different, that you can't reproduce them. It's almost like he's very naturalistic that way, in that like you can make the most intricate science fiction movie with spaceships and exploding stars and stuff, and it can't beat like the wonder of reality, of nature.
Okay, yeah.
So lots of his movies are just shots of like mountains, or he made a documentary called what's it called, Inferno, about 2 like volcanologists who died in a volcanic eruption. And there's like long stretches where it's just like shots of lava flows and magma spewing out in these like very it almost feels like choreographed long shots.
It's probably like a dance.
Yes,
but it's a natural dance.
But it's natural, yeah. And then he just adds music to it to kind of enhance that feeling, and that's what he calls like adequate images. Anything other than that is like it's trash. Throw it out. And there was a lot of this here as well. A lot of long takes, obviously more directed since this is a movie, not a documentary. But like definitely like the shots of them going over the bridge, yes. or in the end, which I just loved. We see it so seldom nowadays, but it reminded me of Oppenheimer actually. The extreme close up of what's the guy's name? Roy Scheider's face as he's like considering like, nah, can I have a minute before we leave? And it's so long. It's like a minute of his face. It really just feels like a minute. Maybe it's only like 10, 15 seconds. But it feels so long. And it just stays on him. And that's what this movie does a lot. It stays on like nature. It stays on situations. Even when it's very hectic, it like paints a picture.
It gives you time to process.
Yeah. So I say he manages to catch adequate images in this movie, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Oh.
However,
yes,
the story was a bit slow and sometimes confusing, because there were a lot of, in the beginning at least, there were too many introductions to I've of course later on realized, oh, it's introducing us to the people who will be driving the cars.
Yes.
But it took me like an hour to figure that out.
Well, as soon as Roy Scheider arrives in whatever the country is, Costa Rica.
Yeah.
They focus on all four characters.
Yeah, but I didn't recognize them at first. I was like, who are these people?
Well, they're a bit dirtier, they're a bit sweatier, they're a bit more bearded.
Is it? And then, oh, right, that's the French dude.
Yeah.
But why? Wait, why is he here?
Well, he had to flee.
Yeah, I suppose. It was because that. But I thought that was like a labor camp or something. So I was like, are they in prison?
No, they just...
this is just escaping their other lives.
Yeah, it's just
but
like...
they ended up at a
poorhouse
place.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what they explain with Roy Scheider when his friend is supposed to help him. Like, it's a place nobody wants to go, so I'm sending you there.
Where is it? I don't even know.
Like, I don't want to know, because then, I could compromise your position, so to speak.
Which, spoilers, in the end, somehow it is.
Yes. Which I thought was like, oh no!
Did we need that? I'm not sure.
Well,
it's for the suspense, I suppose, but...
It's for suspense, but it's also... Because you weren't following along. Because I think this is a very, very straightforward movie. I was trying for a long time, is it about capitalism? Is it about colonialism? And sure, there is some of that in there, but, at the core, I think this is just supposed to be a suspense story.
Yeah, I was about to say heist movie, but it's not really a heist, it's a...
No, but like a heist movie, it's all about suspense.
Yes.
Your nerves are like almost pulled to the breaking point at some point in the movie, and that's really what he wanted to do. Tell a suspenseful story.
Sure.
In the same way, really, his movie before this was, of course, The Exorcist, and while that has a lot of the battle of good and evil, and him being an atheist making a movie where God clearly exists, and so does the devil and all that. There are themes and ideas that he's trying to convey in that movie. We've talked about it in our Exorcist episode. You should check it out. But that's also his thing. Like, it's also just a very a straight up horror story.
Yes.
About a mother losing her child to a demon, and a priest coming in to try and save her. So this one, even more than The Exorcist, is just a straightforward story, like a thriller.
Sure.
So the plot for me was not confusing at all.
But the confusing part to me was that there was such a long intro trying to introduce all the characters, when that really didn't matter in the end. Because who they were was completely disappeared by the time they were sitting in those trucks.
To a certain degree, but it also means that we know these characters, which helps us to care about them when they're in precarious situations. It raises the stakes. It's a classic, if you don't know the character, why should I care about them dying?
Well, the only one I actually cared about then was the French guy, because I knew he had someone waiting for him at home. The other ones, we don't really know what their, home life is, really. We just see what happens and why they have to leave their own countries.
Yeah, I guess.
Do we even see all of them? We see 3 of them at least.
No, we see, the Spanish guy. I think he's Spanish. He sounds like Spanish.
Well, there's the guy from Jerusalem, there's the guy from France, and then there's the guy from America.
Yeah, and then there's the very, very opening scene where a guy walks into a room and shoots a guy. That is the guy who joins them right before they leave. He kills Marquez, who's supposed to be the 4th guy.
But he's not there being poor. He's
just laying low because he killed a man, I'm thinking. They don't really explain it. It's, you have to kind of make your own conclusions a little bit.
I guess.
But then it's also, I also like that because he obviously feels sure, the other guys are bad guys. I mean, the Kassem is, he's a terrorist.
Yes.
And Victor, the French guy, he's well,
Tax it's not a word. Evaser? That's not a word.
Evader.
Evader.
He evades taxes, yeah.
Yes.
Scanlon, Roy Scheider's character, he's a straight up criminal.
Yes.
A robber and a murder. Yeah. He robbed the church. Yeah, exactly. And then, what is his name? The fourth guy. Is that Lartigue?
Lartigue is the Spanish rich dude. I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing he's like an assassin or something, or a gun for hire.
Possibly.
Which makes them, that's tough characters to sympathize with, because, they are what they are. But it then makes them more complex when they're put in like in a situation like this where you still kind of they're desperate, all of them except for Lartigue, to kind of get out of the place where they are. And you can't not be a little like worried for them when they're in the very tense situations, driving this dynamite across 200 miles of rocky terrain.
I think
so
that
it makes you kind of care about these kind of unsavory characters.
I think that played a part for me. I didn't understand what was in those boxes at first.
Oh, it's dynamite.
But I figured out eventually. But it was like when they started, the guy, was it Corlett?
Yes,
who hires them.
The foreman guy at the oil.
When
place.
him and that other dude finds these boxes and like tests them, I was like,
yeah, what
is this? Is it drugs? have been like lying in the moisture for too long? What's the issue here? What do you mean it's? And then it was like, it's unstable. I was like, what kind of drugs explode?
No, but they talk about they have to snuff out the fire in the oil field.
I didn't realize you need to explode stuff for that.
Well, hey, we've talked about There Will Be Blood. You can't put that fire out with you can't put the fire out with water because it's spewing out oil that keeps igniting.
Yeah.
The only way to do it is to basically
collapse it.
Yeah, you need an explosive. First of all, honestly, it's kind of like blowing out a candle, because the concussive force of the explosion first blows out the fire, then of course all the debris from the explosion covers up the oil flow, so they can't ignite again
and stops the oxygen flow.
Exactly. So that's why you have to
snuffs it out. Yeah.
You have to use explosives.
It took me a while to understand. I don't know if I was focused when I watched this movie.
I gotta say, even though I try to, or I in 99% of cases watch movies without subtitles, at least when I know the language.
Yeah.
I had to put on subtitles for this.
Oh yeah,
because
I had to.
They mumbled a lot, and there was a lot of like heavy accents. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, it starts off in French, and I don't know what they speak in Israel or Jerusalem. I don't know what language.
Palestinian, because they're obviously Palestinians.
Yeah, probably.
No, because they are attacking the Jews.
Yeah.
He calls Lartigue a Zionist pig.
Oh yeah.
No, Zionist and a Jew pig.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, Palestinian.
Whatever. You obviously
Middle
need
Eastern
subtitles for that, because
yeah.
I don't know that language.
No, obviously.
I barely know French.
But even for the English speaking, like you said, very heavy accents and very mumbly at points, so it's hard to make out.
And I mean, with the background noise, with the rain and all that stuff, sometimes you just, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I had subtitles too.
When he kept saying "move, move," instead of saying "bum, bum."
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? What is bum? That's an apple in French.
Yeah, or body part in English, almost.
Yeah.
Or the bum.
Bum! Yeah,
or the bum. Well, yes. So, yeah.
So I can see there was, times you might miss details. But I guess that kind of spoke for itself, though. They have to snuff out the fire to make up the money they're losing when Corlett is talking to the main guy there. And then when they pull out these little sticks that are wet and the solution explodes, I was like, that's dynamite.
Yeah. Maybe I didn't. I did watch part of it while I was working, so that might have been an issue. I know. But
Not good.
last minute, I had to do it, kind of thing.
Sure. Anyway,
Also,
yeah.
I mean, in general, yes, this was an entertaining movie, and it was intriguing enough. But there were parts that I thought was too slow and too long. It took too long to get to the suspense.
Yeah, I agree. It did not have to be as long as it is.
It's 2 hours.
Yes, it could have easily been like an hour 40.
The first hour is very slow, very.
Yeah, it's all just setting up the characters, setting up the oil company, and even beyond setting up how they got to the place, setting up their situation in the place.
And then the reason they have to do this trip then.
Yeah.
We have this long sequence after the explosion of people mourning and stuff. I'm like, we get it.
But that's where I think...
two even, technically.
Yeah, that's where I get the feeling the movie is trying to comment on like capitalism encroaching on like poor communities and stuff like that. Because obviously it's an American oil company.
In general.
Yeah, exactly.
Dictators, I suppose.
Yeah. But then there were but as soon as the mission gets going, I think it's a rip-roaring adventure.
No, yeah, I agree.
Up until the very end.
As soon as the mission starts, but everything before the mission is kind of
It's not
really
great, but I still enjoyed it.
Parts of it, sure. I'll give you one thing. When we get the French dude's introduction, I like blinked or something just as the shot came, and I literally jumped in my seat because it was so loud, and I out of the blue. Yeah, really.
You mean when they explode in the end?
No. In the beginning, when the French guy's friend shoots himself.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
His wife's brother, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. That shot was like, Jesus Christ, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Genuine reaction, which is rare when it comes to gunshots in movies, because you don't really. It was louder than normal, I think.
Yeah, probably to get that reaction.
Yeah. Good one. That one was good.
Yeah. But also like this is also like, I don't want to say you couldn't make a movie like this nowadays. You could, but it would be different, and it probably wouldn't be shot on set unless it's made by someone crazy like William Friedkin. But what I do appreciate about this movie, or movies like this, specifically about this movie, is the fact that, at least in my opinion, you can make truck driving like intense and exciting. Yes. Or like when they actually get picked. These 4 guys get picked to drive the cars, and they're like, we want this and this much money, and they're like, no, we want double that. This is crazy. And then they start like fixing up the cars. It's almost like an Evil Dead tool shed scene. It's a gearing up scene where they're like taking these old horrible trucks they have to drive and putting in like the new parts they need, fixing them up a little bit, and it's like down music.
That and the test drives were also a little bit like montagey.
Yeah.
It felt like a Fast and Furious movie when they're like planning the heist. In the which one is it? When they're in Rio and they're testing out if they can
avoid the cameras. Yeah.
It felt like that almost.
Yes. And I'm going to say yes. Justin Lin was inspired by Sorcerer when he made that movie.
Possibly.
Yep.
Not impossible, at least.
Not impossible. Yeah, he is a film buff. I just like, because nowadays movies are so crazy. I mean, we see some smaller movies that aren't not as crazy, but even them, like just driving a truck isn't enough nowadays. It feels like. But then you watch a movie like this today, and you're like, "Oh wait, it can be enough if you just know how to handle the situation." Yes. You can. This is like I said, it's one of the most tense movies I've ever seen.
It is honestly Fast and Furious before there was Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
at least the second hour.
This is slow and furious.
Well, sure, because goddamn, those trucks went slow, even on like plain roads. Like, dude, step on it. I mean, that family that they kind of
we're
drive
running
past,
fast
and the dude is just running in front of it, like dancing and jumping. What What the hell was that?
Once again, some sort of I saw it some sort of comment on industry encroaching on nature, because that was obviously a proper like living outside of society, kind of like Native
American.
Well, Native Indian is what they're called, Indian family. And they're like laughing at their big dumb ugly machines,
big dumb trucks, yeah,
making fun of them, and not having respect for them, because ultimately, like, they managed to live for centuries, if not millennia, without stuff like that, and they're still fine. They're still here.
They're healthier, even.
Yeah,
if you look at it from
he
that
was like big and buff. Everyone else just looked so like sickly and tired all the time. Everyone in the city is a fucking dump. Like, it opens up on a guy like looks like he's dead, lying in the gutter. That's what the movie or the scenes open up on in that town. Other than him waking up from a nightmare, of course.
Sure.
So there's definitely some theme there if you wanna overanalyze this movie.
Though I think that's too short to actually like give it a full theme. That's just a little nudge.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, a little theme, but it's not what the movie's about.
To make you think.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
a second.
Yeah. So I like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I want to see more movies, like modern movies, where not specifically like mundane things become super exciting, like where you like try and overdo it, like, oh my god, we're gonna make this movie about a librarian and it's super exciting how she puts up the book. No, I mean,
no,
like, it still has to be an extraordinary situation, but it doesn't have to involve like a multi-million-dollar heist.
I was about to say high-speed chases and super spies.
It could just be this one that kind of does it, but also goes a little over the top towards the end. Is actually two of his movies. S. Craig Zoller does this with Brawl in Cell Block 99 and Dragged Across Concrete.
Oh yeah.
Sure, they have like the hyper violence towards the end, but other than that, they're very, very, very grounded movies. Even though they do have shootouts and stuff, but it's very realistic, very mundane, like. But it's still super tense, super exciting to watch.
Yes.
Because,
it's at least not... It's more grounded in reality.
Yeah, exactly. And while I don't mind fantastical stories, I think a lot of filmmakers are sleeping on the excitement of, like, hey, the real world is fucking crazy.
Yes.
Once again, talking about Herzog and his adequate images coming just from our planet.
Yeah, though there's a fine line where you start doing things that are real, that are happening in real life, that are horrible, that you maybe don't want to see in movies as well. You see enough of them on the news.
Sure.
And doing like mundane things, exciting, that are also happening every day, but perhaps they're not as dramatic in real life, and you just dramatize them a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's still supposed to be entertainment.
Yes, like prime example. We discussed this off camera a couple of weeks ago when I finally saw Black Klansman.
Oh yeah,
and the movie was fantastic up until the credit scenes where they started adding real life shit, and it just fucking ruined everything.
Yeah,
it's got too real.
Because, you got the point across.
Even though the entire movie's based on real things, it's still detached from reality.
Yeah, and the fact that it's made like a 70s blaxploitation movie,
yes.
it removes itself a little bit from reality, which makes it easier to swallow.
Exactly, but then you throw in those scenes that are from real life happenings and
literally people like, getting run over, yeah.
Like,
like
no, that ruined almost the entire movie for me.
Yeah, but it's still a great movie, right?
Yes.
It's one of the better movies of the last few years.
Turn off before the credits.
yeah, shut it off. Shut it off.
So mundane is maybe the wrong word to use, but things that are actually happening in real life, not just super extreme spy things that aren't really real life things.
Yeah.
But make them exciting.
And that's to kind of first bring this back to Friedkin a little bit, but then also I want to make another Fast and Furious comparison. But we'll start with Friedkin. That's what he managed to do in a lot of his movies. I mean, even a movie like The Exorcist is very, very grounded.
Yes.
Like, sure, the devil is in this little girl. Well, it's Legion, we find out in the third movie.
Sure.
You know, whatever.
That demon thing, whatever.
Yeah, but you're like, yeah, he's an atheist. The movie doesn't go out of its way to talk like, oh, there's gods and demons and like, there's no like other ghosts or anything else in the movie. But as soon as you kind of see the first signs that she's not just sick, but there's something actually wrong with her, you're fully on board. Like, oh, okay, there's a demon in that girl.
Because they're sort of treating it as a sickness specifically.
Yeah.
More than just like, because there's no like research montages where they're like discuss and realize that, oh, angels and demons are real and they have to convince everyone. No, they just need to take care of this specific issue.
I mean, it's almost the other way around, where the priest, Karras, is like, listen, exorcisms is not a real thing.
Yeah.
First of all, they don't happen anymore, and there's usually just, mental issues. Like, no, please come meet my daughter, and you'll see. He's like, okay, fine.
Something is wrong.
Something's wrong.
Let's fix this. Let's not do... The entire universe needs to be reset and told that God is real.
Yeah. It's still a very small story about faith and hope.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like I said, very, very grounded, even when he's making a fantastical story like this.
Yeah.
But then French Connection, once again, super grounded, but still, even though it's so super exciting.
Yes, because they add the excitement to the normal stuff. But yes, it works.
And you haven't seen it, but Bug is the same way.
Okay.
It's a girl, a woman who works at a bar. She meets this like kind of weirdo. I think he's a veteran, or he says he's a veteran, played by Michael Shannon, which helps with the weirdness.
Oh yeah, an unhinged war veteran.
Yes. And she kind of, I think she hooks up with him, and he starts talking, about they're trying to, they put fluoride in the drinking water, and they're watching us all the time. And she's like, okay, but he goes further and further. Yeah, and she starts believing him. She gets sucked into it, and it goes so far that they line their entire motel room with tinfoil, and I don't want to spoil the ending, but they go like way too far in trying to conceal themselves from them, the government.
Yeah, the IMDb line is just, the line between reality and delusion is blurred as they discover a bug infestation.
Yes. And
but
once again,
are they real bugs or are they delusional?
Well, you're gonna have to watch the movie to find out. It's a
Maybe
great movie.
I will do it for the Patreon episode.
Great. Yes. Why not? Right, because we sort of discussed what the Patreon episode was going to be, but do you want to watch another Friedkin movie?
I don't know, maybe. We'll see.
Because I was thinking we were going to watch the original Wages of Fear.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
But maybe we should watch some more Friedkin movies.
You know what, if you want to find out what we do end up talking about, check out the Patreon on Monday.
Yes, patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. But anyway...
you had another comparison to Fast and Furious.
Yes. Just to wrap up the Friedkin then. Even in a story like that, once again, it's very grounded, very small means to tell a very exciting story. With Bug, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Then back to talking
I was about to say,
about
the first Fast and Furious? Yeah, sure.
yeah. Comparatively to the later ones, yes, definitely. No, but comparing like the early Fast and Furious movies, speaking of Friedkin and cars,
yes.
The early Fast and Furious movies, we talked about this earlier this year when we did
all the Fast and Furious movies.
All the Fast and Furious movies, and of course, a couple of years ago when we did it for the 9th movie.
Yeah.
Even though the movies get bigger and bigger and bigger, it's it's still the earlier movies that kind of entice you the most, except for number 8. I love it. Number 8.
Yes.
Because
see the ranking if you want to know.
Yes, exactly. On patreon.com/don'tmakeascene.
Oh yeah, that's on Patreon.
No, and I recently saw a documentary. I don't know if I linked that to you.
You sent it to me. I haven't finished it yet, but yes.
Yeah, because it's about the entire franchise, from the first up until the latest movie, I think, where they discuss all the stunts, and even going into some of the stuff they don't talk about in the behind-the-scenes stuff on the DVDs, which was I thought was great. And it shows, like, honestly, I don't remember where we ranked it. We didn't rank the specific stunts, but the car flip at the end of the first movie, where Dom flips his car over Brian's car, is still one of the more exciting stunts in that movie, because they did it all for real. They literally flipped that car over that one and filmed it from inside the car that's on the ground. And it feels more exciting because it is, first of all, it's very grounded. I mean, the only thing that makes it like over the top is that they had to use a ramp to flip it. Otherwise, it's all real.
Yeah.
So it's making something exciting out of the real or the mundane, so to speak. But as that franchise goes on and on, it's kind of like a microcosm of movies in general. The stunts become more and more crazy to the point where you're like, no, they went too far.
Yeah.
Some people would say that's number 8. I still love that movie. I would say it's number 9.
Like we said in that episode, there are pros and cons to all of the movies.
Sure. Yes.
But the originals, the first movie specifically, has a lot of the charm is the realistic stunts.
I mean, the very first stunt in that movie is one of my favorites. When they do the truck heist and they drive in under the truck to get through the... God, and they did it for real! Like, come on! Jesus! And then you have number 9, where they fly into space to hack a satellite, and you're just like, no, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And that's why... Yeah.
We ranked that as the lowest one, though.
Yes. And number 10, also, like, sure, it has some good stuff, but it goes too far with him jumping off the dam and them shooting on the plane and like running that damn bomb throughout Rome. He's like, no, it's too much. You don't have to. Like,
no.
And it was like,
I mean, they did, sort of, because they had to make everything bigger and better. If you kept it low-key, people would have probably gotten sick of it by movie 5 or so.
But I'm not sure that's true, because the movies never came out like every year. There was always a few years in between. Even now that they're like obviously doing like a franchise, it's still like a couple or 3 years in between the movies.
Well, yeah, 9 and 10 had 2 years between.
Yeah. I think...
And we'll most likely have to wait another year before the next part comes out.
Yeah. I think that has to do with oversaturation. So in order to release a movie the very next year, or like Marvel does, a couple of times every year, you have to constantly up the ante to the point where the bubble bursts. If you actually like let people digest like the original movie before the next one comes out, you can get away with smaller stuff because it's still exciting.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they variate, they can't do the same shit though. They have to do
something of course, different. Have done something different. Yes. And that just goes back to like the mundane, the regular can still be super exciting.
It makes it more realistic and something you can go, oh shit, maybe that can happen to me.
Yeah,
I can experience something like this.
Yeah.
Perhaps, hopefully not as life-threatening, but,
yeah,
as a bridge over a raging river and trees smashing into you. Sure.
Yeah.
To bring it back to Sorcerer a little bit.
Yes, of course.
Hell, they could have stolen shit from Sorcerer. They could have had, like, they drive through woods and jungles in Fast and Furious. They could have taken one of those scenes and done that.
No, instead they fly over that bridge, it breaks, and then he uses the suspension cable from the bridge to Tarzan swing himself between 2 islands.
Yeah. Exactly. Anywho. Back to Sorcerer. Yeah. I agree with what you say for most of it. Now that we talk about it, yes, I appreciate the movie more. I still think the first hour is too much very slow build up that I don't really care about. Yeah. I understand that some of it is necessary. You do get explanations to the characters, but there's a bit. It's too long.
Yes.
I don't need all of that.
You might
However-
actually... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said, you might actually enjoy the original then, because it kind of cuts immediately to them being in the South American country. And it's also like 10, 15 minutes shorter.
Nice.
So you might enjoy that more. Yeah.
Might like that better then.
Yeah.
However, because of all that, I don't really understand why people are rating it like 5 out of 5 and going, "Oh, it's amazing! It's the best movie ever." And then you look on the dates of the reviews, and a lot of it's like, "Oh, it's because you just watched it because he died."
Partly that. It's also one of those movies that gained a lot of praise later because it was kind of overshadowed when it came out. It bombed when it came out in 1977 because it came out basically at the same time as Star Wars. It was a wrong time to release a slow-moving car movie.
Yeah, and also it opens with a bunch of other languages, so Americans go, "Is this the right movie?"
Yeah, which I always find that so fascinating. Like how they can just like, "Oh, it's subtitled. I'm not gonna watch it." Like, what?
I'll leave.
I know that's
I was confused, to be fair. When I started, I was like, did I start the right movie? Isn't this supposed to be an American movie? But no, it changed.
Didn't you get that opening thing where it says, like, parts of the opening of this movie is filmed in its original language, blah, 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 blah. It takes place in France.
I don't know. I didn't think of it.
I think it said that. Anyway. But at the same time, like, to dismiss a movie mainly because it's not in your native language.
Yeah, that's dumb. We've said that before. That's dumb. That's just dumb.
Yes. I kind of understand where you come from, like, the country that, like, exports the most media, which is America. You say what you will about Bollywood. Yeah, they make more movies there, but
it doesn't go as far.
It doesn't have the same reach as American movies. No. Hollywood movies. It doesn't.
Unfortunately.
So I understand that they might be averse, because what they watch is 99% American English.
Yes.
And countries like ours, where we've grown up on Hollywood movies. So
American?
We're used to subtitles.
Sure. I mean, I attribute my English to watching TV.
Yes.
Imported from America.
Yes. That's how you learned English. You watched English-speaking movies with subtitles when you were like 6. And it starts all the way back then, working it into your brain.
Exactly.
So I can understand.
That's just dumb.
Yes, to completely, dismiss a movie because it has subtitles is dumb. But that's literally what happened. People walked out 15 minutes into the movie, just like, what is this? A foreign film? Fuck this!
They had to, like, add details on the posters going like, be aware, this will start in foreign languages.
Yeah, that's what it says.
It turns into American eventually.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have the internet, so it was harder to watch movie trailers. But I mean, they must have seen the trailer at some point.
Yeah, but they probably didn't put any of the foreign languages in the trailer.
No, but then they would know that the movie's going to be in English eventually. It just starts out because it's in a different country. So
maybe they thought what I thought, that they walked into the wrong movie.
Yeah, maybe. But Roy Scheider's on the poster. He's American.
Sure, but he's not in the first 15 minutes.
Yes, he is.
Maybe he is.
I don't know. I know. Yeah, it's semantics. He's in the
yes.
whatever. But either way, yeah, people like and actually got poor reviews. Not terrible, but bad reviews. It got some people saying you say it's too slow. But also like. Comparing it to the original movie, or the first movie, I suppose, Wages of Fear, and saying like, it's more of a rip-off, like, but when that's not really one, he didn't want to make a remake of the movie, he wanted to do his own interpretation of the book story, story, which is why it's very different from the first movie, and I think it's pretty different from the book. He just took the main premise, really, and made his own story about it. I think the big, like, similarities are, of course, expats in a foreign country having to drive dangerous cargo through a dangerous jungle. Yeah. I think that's where the similarities kind of end.
Possibly the bridge in general.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so it was pretty panned, but then later on, and it was almost not that it was like a lost movie. But for a while, it disappeared very quickly from theaters because I know specifically Man's Chinese Theater, the Bing on Hollywood Boulevard, they stopped showing Star Wars to show this. But because now the next movie comes in because at that time you had one, maybe two screens in the cinema.
Yeah, that's true.
But they realized that this movie is not bringing in people at all. We're gonna stop showing your movie, Mr. Friedkin, and we're gonna bring back Star Wars, okay? And I mean, you couldn't buy it on video back then, so it was just gone. It was gone until home VHS releases came in like the mid-'80s or something.
Yeah.
And at that point, people be like, Sorcerer? What? Huh? Because it disappeared because it was Star Wars. Yeah. So it was kind of lost until it was, quote-unquote, rediscovered in the, 2000s.
I assume that had impact on why he didn't do... Because apparently he was supposed to do a movie after this. This was like a small,
yeah.
Project that he wanted to do before he did his next big one.
Yes.
Which was supposed to be about the Bermuda Triangle or something? Devil's Triangle or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But then he kind of scrapped that idea because of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, too many similarities apparently in the themes or whatever. And also, I guess then this one kind of flopped, so maybe you're like, fuck you people, I don't want to put time and money into that. He mentioned you're not going to appreciate it.
Yeah, he mentioned somewhere that he was done with Hollywood after this.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
Understandably, but also...
To a degree, though, I guess he kind of was. He didn't really make any more big movies after this, other than, I suppose, Cruising. Because if you look at his as a director...
I mean, he's done a lot, though.
He's done a lot, but, after this, he made something called Brinks, which
Brinks Job.
Nobody knows what that is. The Brinks Job, yeah. It doesn't even have a Metacritic, a Metascore. And then of course, Cruising, and then smaller stuff like music videos, some movies here and there, TV series, TV movies, and anything that you kind of recognize isn't really until, I guess some people would say Jade. Jade is recognizable, but it's also a terrible movie, or at least it's reviewed terrible. I don't remember. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, which I shouldn't have seen, but still. It's one of those movies. And then it disappeared, really. And then you have, Rules of Engagement in 2000. He had a bit of a comeback there. The Hunted, 2003, Bug, 2006. Then back to video, TV series, and then in 2011 he made his last movie.
Apparently he has one upcoming, though. That's in post-production, so...
Maybe he was working on something. Ooh. The Kane Mutiny Court Martial. Whoa. What is that? Follows a naval officer stands trial for mutiny after taking command from a ship captain he feels is acting in an unstable way, putting in danger both the ship and his crew. Okay. Sounds, interesting because it's him. Other than that, not really.
How does that remind me of Rules of Engagement?
A little bit.
But also a court-martial thing.
Yeah. So he while he didn't withdraw, he kind of
slowed down.
Really toned down. Yeah, it sucks. I mean, this, like I said, this guy made The Exorcist, and he really only has 4 or 5 movies that really stand out, that people talk about. It sucks.
I've found 2 movies in his list now that I want to watch, but their Metascores are in the 30s.
Which are those?
I want to watch The Guardian and Jade.
Which one is The Guardian? Oh,
a magical nymph who sacrifices infants to an evil tree.
Jesus Christ.
I need to
Sounds
that.
Awful. Yeah.
Well, it's a nanny that is a magical nymph, so someone else's baby.
It's this kind of director for hire bullshit. It just doesn't sound good, but it sounds funny. It kind of sounds like one of those sleazy 90s thrillers, which I do like, so I might watch it for that.
I mean, it did come out in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's a drama fantasy horror. You know what? I'm calling it now. Our Patreon episode's going to be more Friedkin movies. We just need to watch a couple more.
Okay.
We'll do this one
to find out which. Yeah, you have to, because now we already spoiled what we're doing. But to find out which movies, you have to check us out on patreon.com/don'tmakescene.
Yeah. You know, maybe they're actually worth it. Whichever ones we end up watching.
Yeah. But having said that, I think it's time to wrap this up. Once again, we haven't really said it actually. We just launched into it. We said it on social media before. But yeah, rest in peace, William Friedkin, a true master of the arts. It sucks, but I mean, people die.
We will live on forever in your movies.
Exactly. We will always have your movies. We will always have Sorcerer, The Exorcist, Bug, Killer Joe,
Jade.
I suppose.
Whatever that one is.
Yeah. So, it's a bittersweet goodbye, but you know, it's life. Death is as big a part of life as life is, or whatever.
Yes.
And with those sage words, I say thank you so much for listening. Yeah, we don't have to plug the Patreon anymore.
No,
you know,
thank you so
check
much.
it out. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. But until then, have a good one. Bye. The Spoilercast is part of Please Don't Make a Scene. It's produced and directed by Tobias Vedén and hosted by Tobias and Rebecca Vedén. Executive producer is Annika Vedén. I also want to give a huge shout out to all our patrons over on patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. Daniel Geiso, Christopher Billén, Laura Kinney, Mom, Dad, and CK85.